Hello, it's Friday the 27th of October, and in this video I'm just going to have a quick look at the most recent Thunderball result, and I'm going to try and predict some numbers for tonight's draw. It's 7:15, so there's not much time, so I'm going to try and make this quick. I'll tell you what I know. First of all, if we look at the chart summarising the entire draw history on the Thunderball, since the number of main numbers went up to 39, you can see the more frequent end of the chart is on the right, and the most frequent number is 31. And 31 is one of the numbers that came out in the last draw. Now, if we just look at machine number 5, this is the chart for machine number 5, and on this chart you can see number 6 is the most overdue number. It's also the number that is closest to that top right corner, which means it's the most overdue for its frequency as well. Number 6 finally came out, so now if we look at the chart for number 34, right, this is the chart for number 34, and you can see on this chart there's number 2, which is overdue for its frequency. Most overdue for its frequency because it's closest to that top right, alongside number 13. Now, if we look at the chart for 34 and we narrow it down to just the two machines that are being used recently, so this is the current trend. Now on this chart you can see that main number 6 was the most overdue to occur with number 34, and number 2 is one of the most frequent. Now if we narrow that down even further to just the 4 sets of balls that are being used at the moment, now you can see that the most frequent number is also the most overdue to occur with number 34. Now it's not the most frequent number with 34, but it's the most frequent in general, and that's number 31. So we've got 6 and 31 most overdue to occur with number 34, and those numbers came out. It's no coincidence that the numbers that are most outstanding on these charts are the ones that come out. It's no coincidence, it's because these are the ones that are most likely to occur. So anyway, if we go back to Let's look at the chart for number 1, and you can see there's 31 looking a bit overdue for its frequency. And before we narrow it down, if we just look at the chart for number 1, you can see the Thunderball number 2 was most overdue to occur with number 1, main number 1. Now if we look at the chart for number 6 and the machine that was used, which was machine number 5, now on this chart you can see 34 most overdue, and the other winning numbers were just there. Now if we go back to the current trend, which is machines 5 and 6, and sets of balls 1 to 4. Okay, that's a chart for the current trend. Now if you look at the chart for 31, going on the current trend, you can see 34 is the most overdue number to occur with 31. And if we look at the current trend and the chart for Thunderball number 2, and on this chart you can see 31's second most overdue for its frequency. And it's a bit of a coincidence that if you look where 31 is on this chart, and then we look at the set of balls that was used, which was set of balls number 3, and if we look at set of balls number 3 and main number 6 together, look where 31 is again, second most frequent and looking very much overdue for its frequency. Bit of a coincidence. Now if we look at, let's look at Thunderball number 2, just the chart for Thunderball number 2. Okay, you can see on this chart number 1, which came out, is the most overdue for its frequency to occur with Thunderball number 2. Now if we look at set of balls number 3, which was the set of balls that was used, and Thunderball number 2 together, then we get this chart which shows 34 is the most frequent. Again, outstanding numbers seem to be the ones that are drawn. And if we look at set of balls number 3, you can see number 2 is the most frequent, and so is number 6. These are the numbers that came out the most outstanding because they are the most frequent on that chart. So if we look at set of balls number 3 and main number 2, again we've got Thunderball number 2, most overdue. If you remember, Thunderball number 2 was most overdue on the chart for main number 1 as well. So all machines and all sets of balls, just looking at number 1, Thunderball number 2 most overdue, and then when we narrow it down to set of balls number 3 and we just look at main number 2, again Thunderball number 2 was most overdue. So interesting how that another little coincidence there. Now when we look at the chart for number 6 and set of balls number 3, again 31 most overdue for its frequency. Look at 34 on this chart for 34, got number 2 second most frequent, and Thunderball number 2 most frequent with 34. Now if we look at Thunderball number 2 on the chart for set of balls number 3, got 34 most frequent, 2 most overdue, and number 1, you can't see it, but if you look where the numbers are on this chart, you can see number 1 most overdue for its frequency, because it's closest to that top right along with the other 4 numbers in that square. So now let's narrow it down as far as we can narrow it down to machine 5, set of balls 3. And if we look at the entire draw history, machine 5, set of balls 3. Let's see where the winning numbers were. So we've got 2 most overdue. Can't really see much because this chart's really tiny now. But you can see 1 in 34 most frequent. So basically that summarises all the reasons, all the possible reasons why these numbers came out in the last draw. Now, looking to the future, here's my predictions. I'm not going to look at all machines and sets of balls, except to predict that number 32 and 22 are going to come out, because they're looking a bit overdue. But anyway, going on the current trend, I'm going to pick Thunderball number 8 because it is the most overdue and I am fed up of waiting for it to come out. So that's what I predict. Thunderball number 8, this number, some other numbers. And looking at the time now, by the time I've uploaded this video it's going to be too late to buy a ticket, so it don't really matter what numbers I'm picking now. I've already bought my ticket anyway, so because I'm basically just putting the same numbers on I put last time. So if you want to know what numbers I put on last time, just watch my previous video and get them from that. So in conclusion, that wraps up this video. Those are the reasons why the numbers that came out in the last draw came out. But really it depends how you look at it. So bye for now then.